This is Clover. This is Cion, and I forgot her name already.
Ellie.
Ellie. Ellie's the good old dog. So we're talking about basically, and you saw in the first video, he bit at my hand a couple times. I probably didn't have the best camera work. He started biting my hand. I think I let the camera slip. But now we're buddies. I gave him some bully sticks. I used a lot of positive reinforcement in terms of high-value training treats. I asked him to sit before I gave him the treat, and we've kind of balanced things out. Now he's nice and relaxed. One of the things that he does, the dogs, I think the reason for this is they're just adolescents. They're 10 months old, so they're really just still puppies. They're in adult dog bodies, but they don't even realize it yet. But their mouths are starting to get stronger. They can do some damage, so it's really important we build in self-control. Now, I just got done going over off camera some rules that we can incorporate. I'm going to suggest a couple others after we finish this, but this gives us, it reminded me of a good little exercise that we can do that will help them develop more self-control. And I like to do this by delaying gratification. Very unusual concept nowadays because we have smartphones, and I mean, you can order from Amazon and have it delivered the same day. I still don't understand how they can do that. But this instant gratification culture we have is spilled over into the dogs, and people want, people come over and fix dog problems in one visit, and they want the dog to transform overnight. It takes practice and work, just like anything that's worthwhile in life. So one of the rules I suggested was the dogs have to sit before I let them in or out of a door. And if I say sit and she sits and these two don't, then I let her out and I close the door and I walk away. And then I come back 1 minute later and give him another opportunity. If he sits and he doesn't, then he gets to go out and he doesn't. And I walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. So we're going to keep on lengthening the length, doubling the length of time before they have an opportunity for me to give them that opportunity to do it right the first time. For dogs, the more we repeat a command, the less we mean it. So if we're repeating a command over and over again, then that confuses or tells the dog that the human's not that serious about things, because they'll just keep on asking you over and over. So having them sit at the door is a more subordinate position. It's the dog concept of I have to ask and pay for the privilege of going outside, and I do this through obedience and sitting down. Once the dogs will sit down, after a while the dogs will go and sit at the door as their way of communicating, I want to go outside. Are you ready? Once that's the case, then we can use delayed gratification, and the way that I do that is I put the dog on a leash. I prefer not to use a harness, but I could. I go to the door, and I would do this with one dog at a time. So what I do is when I reach for the door handle, the dog usually is going to get up out of the sit and race to the door and move forward because they're ready to squirt through that doorway. Well, I want to teach the dog that it has to stay in a sit before I let it go outside. Now, one of the things I tell my clients to do is come up with funny command words, because dogs are the only animals that can actually read a human facial expression. So if I want my dog to lie down like she is, I say crash, and my dog flops down, and most people laugh, and she smiles. She's so happy that she made them happy. And also, if you have dogs with aggression issues or anything that's heavy, coming up with some fun command words can bring some levity to the situation. There's studies that show that can actually help bring some balance and help you overcome the problems a little bit easier, because it just relieves a little bit of the tension. So what I do when I come up with fun command words, usually they're the same for all the dogs. However, there are some situations where I like them to be separate. A release word is one of those words. So let's stand up and say off.
Off. Off.
Now you said it twice. So that I would have grabbed the leash and escorted the dog to the edge of the couch so it feels like it's falling, and then when it gets off, I would have petted the dog. So now tell her, all right, so go ahead and grab a seat again, and we'll continue filming. All right, so we do it all here. Carefully, don't bring your finger in front. Okay, so once I get to the point where the dog will sit at the door to ask to go outside, the next step is to build in delayed gratification, help them develop self-discipline and control. So what I do is I go to the door, I have the dog on a leash, and I just reach for the handle. I don't even touching it. Just this motion will cause the dog to get up and start moving forward. Stop, put the dog back into a sit. 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 Then I would reach for the handle again. And it's going to be a back and forth until the dog stays in a sit, just through that process. Now I'm going to share a little bit of a secret in this video. This is how I fix pretty much most dog problems. So what I do is I break the activity down into small individual steps and recreate situations where the dog fails, so I can help the dog practice the step, each individual step, and so I'm teaching them the behavior we want them to demonstrate or to use. Most of us don't actually teach our dogs how we want them to behave. We think about how we want them to behave. We get frustrated when they don't do what we're thinking, but dogs are not mind readers. So it's the burden of responsibility is on us to teach our dogs how we want them to behave. So at the door, when I reach for it, and I keep on doing this until I can go like this over and over, and the dog does not get up. The next step isn't opening the door, it's jiggling the latch, just the handle or the doorknob. So I just jiggle it, I make it as much noise as I can, and that sound will cause the dog to get up and move forward. So again, we put them back into a sit, then we go to a reach, they stay in the reach, okay, then we reach and then jiggle. Keep doing that step until the dog stays. Then the next step is to pop it open just a little bit. Now most doors have a spring, so they automatically close. What you do is you pop it open in just like an inch. So it's not enough for the dog to go out. And that will cause the dog to get up. Put the dog back into a sit, pop it open just an inch over and over again until you can swing that door wide open and that dog stays in a sit. Now I mentioned earlier I have fun command words for my dogs. Most of the time I give them the same command word. However, we have 3 dogs here. I would give each dog a unique release word to go through the door. This way we could actually have 3 dogs sitting at the door with the door wide open, and I can say release, freedom, yard, break, whatever the word is that is each dog's release word. So when I actually do that, when it's time for the dog to go through the door and I can swing that door wide open, and again, do it step by step until the dog stays in a sit. Then what I do is when I want the dog to go through the door, I take out a high value treat. Again, something I use chicken liver for tricky trainers, but something's got a strong smell. Let the dog sniff it and then throw it through the doorway, which the door's already open. And the dog will run after it. The second the dog touches it, picks it up, right at the second after, you would say release, if that is, well, one of the dog's commands. So you keep on saying the word over and over every time the dog touches that treat after they walk out the door at the end of this exercise. After enough repetitions, then that word means I get to go outside and I get a treat for doing so. We're creating a positive association with the command, and we're communicating what the command word means by associating it with the action. So then I do, and I would probably do it with each dog separately. Sit. That was great. He sat down. I rewarded him for sitting down, and something we're going to talk about here off camera in a little bit, what I like to call passive training. So basically, this way I can go to the door and I can release the dogs out of the door one at a time, because one dog has one command word, another dog has another command word. There you go. Excellent. Grab it and say off.
Off.
When you pet, and then careful with the camera. So make sure it's on me. And then I sound like a camera hog there. But basically, we want to teach them sit. The words that mean what we want. So we are developing a vocabulary where we can actually have good communication with the dogs. So this is a small little thing, but you can use the same technique for anything. If your dog gets aggressive or doesn't know out of the door, wants to run through the door, maybe we break down answering the door into individual steps and help the dog practice each individual step first 5 times in a row before the dog does it successfully, or when the dog does it successfully, before we move on to that next step. And once we can do all these steps individually, then we can string them all together, and now the dog knows how it's expected to behave. And then when people come by, they're like, wow, your dog has such good door manners. Well, I took the time, I taught them how I want them to behave, and now I'm getting the rewards of my labor, the fruits of my labor, by having dogs that behave the way that I want during a particular activity. So this is how you can break down an individual activity, and really how you can teach your dog to develop some self-control by asking them to sit and wait before you let them out an open door.